Miss me? I didn't figure so. But hey, I can hope, right? We're living in a pretty strange time right now. A time where the normal crazy is just the normal. Because there's this new thing going around that has got people so worked up that we don't even really know why. We don't even really understand why people are so just hysterical about it. This coronavirus thing has changed the way that we do things down to the very details of our everyday life. It's put such a strain on us that sometimes it feels like we're not sure what we're going to do an hour from now. It feels like things are changing so fast, and it feels like things are changing so drastically that we don't know what we're going to do tomorrow, next week. We don't know where we're going to be. Israel, the nation of Israel, God's people, they dealt with this a lot. They dealt with times where it was brand new, it was unprecedented, there was no easy solution, there was no pen and paper. You need to go here, you need to do this, and then you will be okay. How awesome would it be if there were a coronavirus survival guide? But there's not. Just like for Elijah, there was no Ahab survival guide. Right? When we look in 1 Kings, Ahab was relentlessly challenging the authority of God. He was relentlessly challenging the faithfulness of God's people, especially the faithfulness of his most rampant prophet of the time, Elijah. How did Elijah do it? How did he take a situation, nay, a myriad of situations that he had no idea what to do with? He didn't know where to go. He didn't know who he was supposed to see. He didn't know what to do. And yet, how did he take these situations and come out victorious? And the answer is really simple. In James 5, James reminds us of Elijah. He reminds us of how Elijah was able to not only survive the wrath of Ahab and the wrath of Jezebel, but how he was also able to bring victory to the name of God. Watch this. In James chapter 5, verses 17 and 18, the Bible says this: Elijah was a man subject to like passions as we are. Stop, pause, whoa. Prophets are supposed to be the guys that just show us the way. Right? They're supposed to be the guys that have the answer, that know the way, that talk directly to God. They're not supposed to be the ones who struggle, who deal with what we deal with, and yet, the Bible says he was subject to like passions as we are. This guy wasn't any different than me or you, but obviously he figured something out. It says he prayed earnestly that it might not rain, and to go on, it didn't rain. For 3.5 years it didn't rain. And then he prayed again, and lo and behold, the heaven gave rain, and the earth brought forth her fruit. That's verse 18. When you go and read the story in 1 Kings, you see a man who is just as confused, he's just as lost, and is just as up in the air as we are right now. But he knew there was something that he had that not only Ahab didn't have, but it was something that kept him one step ahead of Ahab. He had God. And because he had God, he knew that victory was at hand, and that he could not only survive, that he could win. Guys, I'm not telling you we got to win the corona battle. I'm telling you that when there's a situation that seems brand new, when there's a situation that we see that we don't see the end, we can't foresee any sort of positive outcome, we have God. And because we have God, we can be victorious. The end of Elijah's story is still being written. because he had God. Didn't matter how hard Ahab pursued him. Didn't matter how bad Jezebel wanted to kill him. Didn't matter how much famine, how much drought, how much war was going on. He always had God. And you know what else he had? He had brothers and sisters. There was a moment in Elijah's life where he was throwing the biggest pity party you've ever seen. He was on the ground crying and hiding and boo-hooing. And you know what God said? Dude, get up. And he opened Elijah's eyes to see that there were thousands of other followers of God just right beside him. The same goes for us, guys. When the church doors close, when the people go crazy, when the store runs out of stuff, two things are always going to be there. God is always going to be there for us, and we're always going to have each other. Learn from Elijah. I ain't saying take this corona stuff lightly. I know there's things about it that are scary. But just like Elijah, when he was fearful, he turned to God and saw. And because he had God, and because he wasn't alone, he could be victorious. And so can you. I love you. I'm so proud of all of y'all. I miss you. And I hope to see you again soon. And for the love of all things good and holy, try to keep well at us and out of trouble.